Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Shard. I create content for the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG and Master Duel, and we're doing a Spright deck profile. Of course, Spright is out now. Path of the Elements released not too long ago, and I think this will be the best deck of the format, guaranteed. So let's just get straight into it, and I'll show you what I'm playing. Alright, so playing Spright means, of course, you're going to run the 3 blue. This is the start of the deck. On special summon only, not normal summon, you can search any Spright monster, and that usually bridges us into our Spright Jet. So this is the next card that we play. So this card searches a spell or trap for Sprights. However, we only have the spells right now, and you really only care about the spell anyway, to be completely honest. But some other Spright monsters, there's not many. It's a very efficient engine. It's a small engine. So the next card is Spright Red. This card is a monster negation. Think of it like Cypher Gamma, except it doesn't destroy unless for the cost of this card you're attributing a rank or link monster. But yeah, Spright Red is really cool. I love the art on this card, by the way. I wish it was a super rare. And then the next one is Spright Carrot. So this card is kind of our spell trap negation. And if you've realized by now, we're covering all bases with this deck. So it's another reason why it's so powerful. But yeah, there's Spright Carrot, cool art too. And if you've noticed, that's kind of our Spright lineup. There's not a lot going on, except the fact that we have this really cool, I want to say, way of working. If you control a level, rank, or link 2 monster, they can each special themselves, and that's how the engine gets going. And that's why we run other engines, which you'll see in the video. And essentially, it means you can go from Spright to Spright to Spright to Spright. All of a sudden, you have so many monsters on the board, and you can do link plays, exceed plays. There's a lot you can do. And that's why I really like this deck. I think it's super experimental. People consider running second red and second carrot simply because, they are negations, they're generic negations, and they're really good, they're really easy to use. So, keep that in mind if you are building Spright and you might want to test those ratios out. We'll move on to the hand trap lineup, which is pretty interesting, I'd say. I'm not used to running this many hand traps, but, in Spright, this is just how you run it. So, yeah, we'll move on to that now. Okay, so here we go. Starting with Gamma, it's a level 2, which means, there's some synergy with it. If you run emergency teleport, that's great. This will let you bridge into your Spright monsters because you control a level 2. But Gamma's really good, and, it's one of the best hand traps in the game. There's a reason why it's limited in the OCG. Next hand trap, DD Crow. We don't use Bell because Bell can be chain blocked, and it's not as effective. Crow is the best, simply because, if you've played the last meta, you know how powerful this card is. Shuts down branded in red, shuts down a lot of cards in the game right now, stops punk stuff. In the mirror match, it stops the Spright off summoning the second Toad, which is really scary. But you can also stop the frog shenanigans that they do. So Crow is really good. You run it as a 3-of, it's not once per turn, and that's another reason why it's the best hand trap this format. Again, if you played the old format, you know how good this card is. I don't know how strong is this format. However, shutting down the star is really nice because you shut down a potential Spright extender like Carrot Red, Blue, or Jet. And it's good against Rogue too. And then to top it off, we are playing, for the monster lineup at least, this is Ghost Ogre. We're playing 2. I like this card. A lot of people are running at 3. I think it's really good at 3, don't get me wrong. But I just want to test out this ratio. I think having 2 is good, so it means I can use one for cross out and not be worried that I'd have another one, or vice versa. I'm not respecting Veiler and Imperm that much this format. Elf stops Imperm Veiler from resolving at all or activating. So for that reason, I don't know if people are going to run it. If they do run it, I do have it as a copy. So having it as a 1-of, is not bad. So yeah, that's the hand trap lineup. The second engine in the deck, which I really like. Well, it's 3 engines. We'll start with this one. Deep Sea Diva is insane. It's a tuner, which means you can do Hawklines. But most importantly, it's that level 2 that lets you bridge into your other Spright monsters, and that's all we really care about. The fact it's a water, there are some things you can do with that. But most importantly, it lets us bridge into the Atlantean Infantrymen. This card is weird. The OCG did use it for quite a while. You combo this with Cat Shark. During player's turn, activate Cat Shark's effect. And it means when this card is detached to activate Water Monster's effect, you can pop a card on the field. From my research, it's good. And there's a reason why its price is going up. Do I think you should run it? I don't know. The Diva package and Infantrymen kind of go together. But if you like the Diva package, yeah, go with it. It's really good. And obviously, while we still have Hulk, maybe this is the best way to play it. This is a little bit fun. We have the 3 Swap Frogs. Check that out. Little ultra rare rarity. I know there is a ultimate rare for it, but man, this looks wicked. And yeah, Swap Frogs is amazing. This engine brings us the Totally Awesome. This engine has a lot of recursion, a lot of spam ability. Swap Frog sets up all these summons means we can also climb into our link monsters. I'll go more into that later. But yeah, that's Swap Frog. And of course we run the Ronin and Duke Frog. Duke Frog you summon if Totally Awesome in the standby phase. Protects your stuff by battle. It's quite nice. And then Ronin Toadin is how we loop our frog summons with Swap Frog. That's the frog lineup. And that's pretty much the monsters. You know, it's very simple. Not too much going on. There's a ton of hand traps. And of course the efficient frog, diva, sprite engine. Okay, moving on. We're playing the 3 starters for the spell lineup. This card is amazing. It does lock us into level, link, and rank 2 monsters. However, the fact you can special a sprite from the deck is really, really good. It's a quick play, which means we can, if we want to, on our opponent's turn, special the red or special the carrot for that interaction. But you can also use in the draw phase. Remember, it's a quick play. You can do that. And yeah, starter's kind of our best card in the deck. The fact you are locked out kind of does hurt us, to be completely honest with you. But you just try your best to play around. And I think the best Sprite players will end up knowing how to use this card the most effective. I'm still learning, but I really enjoy using this card, and you know, when we see it, we love it. We're moving on to the Smashers, man. I really wish this card was shiny. Just in any rarity, would have loved that. But yeah, Smashers is cool because, you know, it gives us that non-targeting banish removal, takes out Dragoons, takes out any threat in the game, and it's a really way. There's a really easy way to use it because you literally just banish a Sprite card. You can banish the spell, for example, for its cost, and yeah, you're just giving yourself really good removal. Okay, so the next spell lineup, this is really interesting, and there's a lot of diversity in terms of what you do with it, but it's the Dark Ruler No More and the Forbidden Droplets. So Spright is a really, really powerful deck, and it kind of forces your opponent to have that out. If they don't have that out, aka these cards, then you kind of just win the duel. So we use this as a cross-out target, but you know what? Spright has a lot of trouble breaking balls. That's what I've noticed in my testing. So, you know, this is why we run this. It's a 2-2 ratio. I don't want to run 3-1 or 1-3 or 3-3. So yeah, Droplets is great. You know, everything's a 1-card engine, more or less. And the Dark Rulers are no fuss removal. Shout out to the video I made before. You can check that one out if you want. It's a video on how to break the pulp meta and really just how to deal with it. Okay, cool. So we move on to the next card. Crossout Designator, Called by the Grave. You noticed already there's a ton of hand traps in this build. So, of course, we're going to run the Crossout. And I think because of how popular Spright will be, I think Crossout is going to have a lot of fun negating a lot of different stuff. I think we are going to have trouble dealing with Exorcista and Terror Elements, to be quite honest with you, and the Eldritch decks. However, I think Crossout is a good card, and it just stops that 1 or 2 hand trap that's going to shut down our turn. So yeah, we use Crossout as a insurance policy, if you will. And of course the Call by Tax. That's actually the deck profile, by the way. It's quite short and sweet. A lot of the cards here you might be familiar with if you've played the previous meta. And then yeah, we'll move on to the extra deck, which is actually quite tight, and you know, there's a lot of debate as to what you should run. First up is of course Sprite Elf. I just want to shout out the art on this card. It's absolutely incredible, man. I love the big guns on it, the rockets, and he's wearing a lab coat, which is super sick. So yeah, this is quickly become one of my favorite monsters, purely because of the art. This is the card that gives us that second Toad on the opponent's turn. Toad is not once per turn, so you can use effect, negate something. If your opponent controls a monster during the main phase, quick effect, Elf will special that same Toad back, and that's how the loop gets going. It's really, really crazy. Don't forget, Toad negates, destroys. If it destroys it, it sets the card. So you're kind of going +2 off of the Toad. I can see why OCG put it to 1. But even at 1, I think it does a lot of damage. So yeah, that's Sprite Elf. One thing interesting I noticed, this card is super weak. I mean, you can see on the screen, it's 1400. It's nothing. And I think that makes the deck a little bit more fragile than it has to be. So we've got to be mindful of that. I'll move on to the next Sprite card. It's an Exceed monster. It's Gigantic Spright, the main man himself. So this card is really cool. This is what enables the Toad loops, especially in any level 2 monster from the deck is really good. And the fact we can toot out any level 2 in the game is kind of insane, let's be honest. And yeah, that's Gigantic Spright. If you use a link or rank monster as material, I believe his attack gets doubled, so keep that in mind. He is quite weak at 16, but at 32 he's pretty decent. You know, Totally Awesome is absolutely ridiculous. It's just really powerful, and kind of what makes Spright what it is right now. This is kind of our link to toolbox. Dark is really good because there are a lot of strong dark monsters. That's just how Yu-Gi-Oh is. But IP is amazing because this is one of the cards we end on. You want to end on this card because there's a lot of cards we can summon with IP, including cards like Underworld and of course Avramax. Through my research, I believe Avramax can't be outed in the Terror Element deck, which is kind of insane to think about because he can't be targeted by card effects, and then IP means he can't be destroyed by card effects. One more card for the IP package. It's Nightmare Unicorn. Kind of standard really. You just discard a card bounce card back into the deck. Centaura and the Cat Shark. So I mentioned before, Infantryman with the Cat Shark, that's that synergy there. And that's pretty much decent, you know, that gets you to your Zeus line too. And then next cards, Diamond Magician and of course the Zeus, like I mentioned. Managed to pick up an ultimate rare, which I'm really excited about using. Guys, that's pretty much the lineup. There's a lot of builds out there. There's Adventure Spright, there's Spright with just like a whole different engine, like the Nimble Beaver engine. So yeah, keep that in mind. And if you guys want me to make a video for those, let me know. There's a lot of toolbox monsters you can use. I definitely recommend you research those on like an ED or Pro Simulator. Just see the whole list of what you can play. Okay guys, so that was the Spright deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is the Diva variation. Keep that in mind. There are a lot of versions out there. We got Adventure Spright, we got Nimble Spright, we got Dark Beckoning Beast Spright. So you know, there's a lot of engines out there clearly. But this is the one I've decided to build. I think I've done a lot of research and it's no surprise that this is the kind of deck that goes undefeated. It's just really snowbally, and once you get your level 2 engine going, you really just go from there, and you're looping your Toads, you have hand traps. It's really scary stuff. But yeah guys, that's pretty much the deck profile. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, of course, as always, drop a like. It helps support the channel and things like that. And let me know as well what you're planning to build. Are you playing Spright? Are you not playing Spright? What cards are you thinking of running? What version are you running? I'm really curious about the adventure build personally, so I might try that down the line. And again, if I didn't mention before, if you want me to upload, you know, a version of the deck that, you know, you think is really strong, let me know. I'd love to cover it and really just bring that to you guys. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.